All right, it's Chris Pre, and welcome to this week's Motivational Monday. I think you're going to enjoy this chat. It's one of probably a dozen I've had with Dr. Joe Vitale from The Secret. I had dinner with Joe out in Texas several years ago. I want to say it was back in 2016 or 17. Joe spoke live on stage in Rhode Island at our QLS live event in 18 prior to COVID. And Joe's been on the show now on my podcast. This is the third time. And as always, we dove into things that are different than real estate, but that are required for real estate. So enjoy this Motivational Monday, and I hope to see you at the next event, which is the Wicked Smart Summit, March 29, 30, and 31. You got to grab your ticket, guys, wickedsmartsummit.com. All right, Joe, welcome back to the show, my friend.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this moment. This is a great opportunity. Always good to talk to you.
Yeah, I want to, in case there's new Wicked Smart listeners, you were on episode 15 back in 17. I don't know where the time went, but we're up to like almost 400 episodes now. You were also on episode 247. So those are writer-downers for everybody to go take a peek at.
I had forgotten. You know what's amazing in life? If you just get up every day and do something, it adds up over time.
Yeah.
Look at you. You know, in the beginning, you do your very first episode. Before you know it, you're saying, well, I've done 400.
Yeah.
And it's like, how? Well, you just keep doing it. That's it. They add up.
A little daily discipline, right?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. One day at a time.
Well, we're probably going to dive into topics like that and other things. I'd love to hear, and I know the audience would because you're frequently on here. I'd love to hear what you're up to with your new book. And I'd love to hear, because I told you I love the name, more about your program, Mentor Time Travel System. So whichever one we want to adjust for us, I truly want to hear more about both.
All right. Well, the system is mental time travel system is the correct name.
Sorry.
Mental time travel system. I've been fascinated by time travel since 1960, and I was a kid, and I saw the famous movie with Rod Taylor that was based on the book, The Time Machine, by H.G. Wells. It's always fascinated me, but what came together recently was the reality that we can do mental time travel in our mind. And this is useful because we can go back in time to where we formulated limiting beliefs about money, about our business, about real estate, about whatever. And those limiting beliefs have stayed with us because we didn't know they were beliefs. We just accepted them as our current reality. And with mental time travel, we can actually, psychology proves this, and recent science proves this, go back in time, more or less relive the event as best we remember it, but come to a different conclusion. Rather than going through some experience that happened in childhood or in junior high or high school, whatever it was for somebody. And in that experience, they concluded that they're never going to be successful or they're always going to have to struggle. Well, they can go back to those moments mentally, and they could reinterpret it. They can reinterpret it. One of my principles that's in this new program, which I think is so profound, is that you cannot change the facts of the past, but you can change your perceptions of the past. This is amazing. I mean, this is a breakthrough. So if there was something that we considered this was the turning point and it made life rough for us, we can actually go back in time mentally, reinterpret it, come up with a new perception, new belief, bring that into the present moment. And then out of this present moment, we do the other thing. We go into the future, mentally projecting our own success. So all of this is happening in the moment, and the moment is the only thing we really have. In this moment is all the power. But in this moment, we can mentally time travel to the past to make it more of what we wanted. And then we can mentally time travel to the future to start creating what we want to and projecting what we want to actually experience when we get there. So that's what mentaltimetravel.com is all about in essence.
.com. Joe, can we dive deep, and I'll be the guinea pig on this one thing? So as you know, back in 2008, I went through the crap with the crash. Yes. It took me 4 years to get out of my head and then create what we've created today with hitting 5,000, two times in a row, and things are good. but I can't tell you I stopped thinking about it, right? It still affects me in some way. So,
Right.
so in its minuscule form, because I know this could be hours, how would I, or how would one go back to that, go back and rework the perception to be a learning lesson versus a problem, for example?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is you are really good. I love that you take this right to the heart. You take this right to the street. It's like, let's not talk philosophy here. Let's make this actually work. Let's get something practical out of it. So, first of all, my mental time travel system is 15 videos that go through all these different principles. And then there's audios that actually guide you to the past and guide you to the future. So you can do this on your own. But you've got me here. So let me do a little bit of personal coaching with you. The very first thing we would look at is, because you're an adult at the age you're at, the 2008 experience was not the one that actually interrupted your prosperity flow. I'm pausing for that to kind of register and sink in. And I'm looking at everybody here. I'm wanting everybody that's listening to this to actually try to follow and grasp that the limiting beliefs that we wrestle with are not coming from present reality or even recent reality. They're coming from childhood. So when I say we want to go to the past and reinterpret it and reframe it and come up with a different perception around it, we want to look to first cause. When you went through the 2008 experience, and a whole lot of people did, and I got my own stories about that thing, and maybe if we get a chance, we'll talk about it, because mine are opposite of what you went through. 2008 ended up being incredibly prosperous for me for different reasons. So if you go through one aspect of this and it's not so pleasant, and I go through the same aspect of this, but it is pleasant, what's different for us? Yes, we're probably in different situations, but what I'm getting at is that our beliefs that we created, acquired, and accepted as children
Prior.
are the ones operating when we hit a bump in the road in life. So what I would be inviting you to do, and you would do this on your own, Chris, we're not going to make you go through this, live in the hot seat, but you would go back in time to what would be the first experience, and everybody can do this. What would be the first experience of feeling like you can't get your way, or feeling like things don't always work out, or feeling like you can't trust the banking system or other people who are making decisions that influence you? You may have seen your father go through something fairly similar and concluded that this happens in life and this will happen to me.
Mm.
That conclusion is not a truth. That conclusion is not a fact. That is a belief, and beliefs can be changed. In my own example, I went, I was homeless for a while and I was in poverty for 10 years. A lot of that had to do with me being raised by a man who was born during the Great Depression in America. He was born in 1925. So my father, when the Great Depression hit in 1929, was deeply embedded with lack and limitation thinking. And he carried that to his grave, living to be age 93.
Right.
Until I got to the point where I questioned those beliefs and where I was getting them, and then could reinterpret them and replace them, then I could be free. Before that, I struggled.
Amazing.
Does this help? Does this make sense?
Yeah, absolutely amazing. So with that, I want to make sure that these guys can get their hands on the course, because invaluable. It's going to be a lot more, but thanks for the teaser. So that would they go to mentaltimetravelsystem.com, Joe? Is that the best site?
That's exactly it. mentaltimetravelsystem.com. What I'm most excited about is not only this concept of being able to mentally travel back in time and go forward to create the future you want, is that I have these 15 principles that seem to have come to me out of inspiration as I was putting all of this together. For example, and this is the one that comes to mind, and if you don't mind me just kind of sharing one more aspect of this, is we talk a lot about beliefs, and I get on soapboxes and talk about beliefs, like you have to change your beliefs, you change your reality. But there is the truth that you don't need to believe it. to make it happen. And this was startling when it first came to me. Let me explain. One of the people that I interviewed, I have an online TV show, Zero Limits Living TV. It's at ZeroLimitsLivingTV.com. And I'm interviewing different people just like you. And and I want you on the show, by the way.
Well, I appreciate that.
At one point very soon. And one of the people I interviewed was a guy who was trying to make heaven on earth. Now, he's not trying to make heaven on earth in the term of a second coming or anything where the whole planet is suddenly in utopia. He was doing it where he says, where was the moments in your life where you were truly happy? And can you recreate that moment in your life now? And can you help teach other people to find those moments in their life? There is a way of creating heaven on earth by each of us finding those bliss moments in ourselves and in other people. And one of the things he discovered is that people would often say they didn't believe heaven on earth was possible. And he would say, can you do this even without believing it's possible? Oh, that hit, Chris. That's one of those things where you and I do so much to help people. We're giving advice, we're giving tools, we're giving information, we're giving techniques. And a lot of people don't act because they think, well, this is going to work for everybody else, but it's not going to work for me.
Right.
Can you go ahead and do the work, even if you believe it's not going to work for you? These are concepts that if you really wrestle with it, you can take away all your excuses. Like you don't actually need to believe it. Sure, it'd be cool if you actually believed it, but you don't actually need to believe that you're going to achieve great success in real estate or whatever you're going for. But can you still take action in that direction without the belief now?
So
pausing for a theatrical emphasis.
Well, I appreciate that. And I'm thinking that as you were saying that a particular person came to mind, I won't mention them here, but it's not indifferent of many students who go, hey, Chris, I'm excited to be in your program. I'm excited to have you or whoever as a coach. But I know when I do my first deal, I'll believe it more. I know I have my confidence. I just don't believe it yet. Any other miscellaneous advice for that comment or that person? Because that's most people, you know?
Yeah. Well, one of the secrets to success I have found throughout my life is having somebody who believes in you more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah. There you go.
You can really achieve miracles and milestones and breakthroughs if there's somebody rooting you on. And that's apparently what you're doing with some of the people who come to you and work with you directly. Right. And you're encouraging them. You're saying, I've done this. You can do this. I do the same thing when I get to work with a few people, but I also tell stories. There was, and I'm pretty sure, wait, you know this story because I spoke it on stage at one of your last events. It was the story of the homeless man in Thailand.
Yeah.
Who didn't believe in any of the principles I teach. He didn't believe in The Secret, the law of attraction, positive thinking, mind power, goal setting. He didn't believe in any of that. And in fact, he set out to prove I was wrong. And so with that mentality, he started trying these different things, not believing they worked.
Yep.
And the short answer is 15 years later, he was a billionaire in real estate, a billionaire. And when I met him, he was 35 years old, 35-year-old billionaire who did this, not even believing it was possible. So when I tell this story, people, hopefully people listening right now to you and I talking, start to realize, well, if it worked for this guy in Thailand, his name was Andres Pira, and I helped him with his book, Homeless to Billionaire, then maybe it'll work for me too. So we need those stories of encouragement, true stories that of people just like you and me that have transcended, that have done this. And we need the personal mentor. We need the cheerleader to help us get to the first sale, the first deal, and then build from that.
I love it. And I do remember his story. And for those of you that maybe that might be a new story for you, please go back and check out the episode. We must have addressed, I know we did, on episode 247. So that'd be a good one to listen to. Joe, let's talk about your new book, because it seems by title, Unexpected Kindness, that it might be a little different than what we just talked about. Maybe not, maybe it's ties. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, you know, I wrote a book called Karmic Marketing, and I think that's one of the things we talked about, or maybe not. I don't know. You and I talk all the time, and all these different shows we've done, I've forgotten what we've talked about. But karmic marketing is the idea of increasing your business by giving. So this whole principle of being kind in business, of giving in business, I called karmic marketing. A while back, Bob Proctor died. And Bob Proctor was one of the grandfather legends in The Secret and Law of Attraction, personal development, and he deeply influenced me. The next morning after he died, I started to spontaneously tell the story of how he had been kind to me. I was making a name for myself as an internet marketer and copywriter, and that was before The Secret, Law of Attraction, any of that. And he saw something in me. Again, this is where somebody else sees something in you and encourages you that you don't quite see yourself yet.
Right.
Bob Proctor did this for me, and I ended up calling it unexpected kindness. The morning after I wrote that story, I remembered somebody else. And I wrote that story. Within a month, I had all these stories, and I realized there was a book. The book is around all the people who helped me when I was broke, unpublished, struggling, no evidence I was going anywhere, but they saw something and they encouraged me. They did some act of unexpected kindness. So I've written this book, Unexpected Kindness, for two reasons. One is to give thanks to Bob Proctor and all the other people who had helped me, many of which some people would know, and many are just completely unknown. There were neighbors who did something nice to keep me going, surviving, and then thriving. And the second reason is to inspire people to do that now. Chris, you and I know that this world, through the pandemic, through wars that are going on, through the uncertainty of the political system, the economy, people are divided over the simplest things. They're arguing, they're fighting. There's no tolerance. People are ready to fight, they're ready to kill, they're ready to maim, and they're doing this with their friends, they're doing this within the family. It has really divided the nation, and it's been dividing the world. And I have struggled to try to find a way to help, and I'm thinking we don't need more religion or more spirituality or more do this technique or this tool. You know what we need to do is be kind. Every one of us understands what kindness is.
Right.
And so when I say unexpected kindness, tying into the book, it just simply means look around, and if you see somebody that needs a meal or a dollar or something that you could do, please do it.
Yeah.
That unexpected kindness could redirect that person's life. The unexpected kindness that happened in my life helped aim me to where I am today. Without it, I don't know that I ever would have met you, Chris. I don't know that we ever would be talking.
Well, I agree. And it's what's cool is Kim always says to me, she knows I like going back in time and saying, how did we meet Joe? How do we meet this person? How do we meet that person? I think it's so cool to do that. And it's usually because someone did that exact thing you're saying.
Yeah, and there's that spontaneity that is very natural. So this goes beyond all the boundaries. This is about opening your heart. And I know your show is about business, and I want people to realize when I talk about being kind and I talk about karmic marketing, this impacts the bottom line.
Of course.
People want to deal with real people. People want to deal with honest people. People want to deal with loving people. People want to deal. The rule of thumb in psychology and in selling is people want to deal with people they know, they like, and they respect.
Right.
Well, if you're being kind, not just to these potential customers, but to everybody, you'll be noticed. You'll also feel better about yourself, and you'll feel better about life, which from a law of attraction standpoint will up the vibe so that you can actually attract and attain and receive even more. So unexpected kindness, I don't know, maybe there'll be a movement around it. Maybe, I don't know what'll happen, but I'm putting it out there as my own act of unexpected kindness.
Well, we appreciate it. And I know just by the nature of your work, something will become bigger than what we're talking about right now. I just know it. So hang out and watch it, and you'll see Joe do some cool things. You brought up something just now. You said a business show. I pointedly have awesome people like you on, Joe, and I want you to comment on this, your thoughts, because I wish it were as easy as, hey, everybody, in my case, here's how you do a deal. And it's that easy, and you just go do it. And it's a skill set. But unfortunately, it's not about that. That's why someone does a deal in 30 days and someone does one in 1 year, because all these other things come into play. That's why I love chatting with you. So I just want to make sure that I say that to your comment about the business show, because I wish it were that easy. It can't be just about business. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but the mental piece of becoming an entrepreneur are just way bigger than most realize. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Or?
the mental piece is the make it or break it part.
Yeah.
It's all mental. You're not even taking action unless you have the mind behind this. And then when you hit bumps in the road, or there's delays, or somebody doesn't sign something, or there's a disappointment of some sort, if your mind's not in the right place, you will stop, you will give up, you will roll over and play dead, or some version of that. So the mind is what it all comes down to. Napoleon Hill has that great quote: if you can conceive it and you can believe it, you can achieve it. And this is true across the board, whether it's real estate sales or somebody wants to open a bakery or whatever they want to do. If you can conceive of the idea and you can believe in the idea, then you have to take action, but you can conceive and create it. You can actually attain it. But the mindset is everything. I've often been asked, when people hear about my road, my struggles, and yet they hear, oh, he's written 80 books, he's in 20 movies, he's and a musician with 15 albums, and blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. And they would ask for my secret. And I'll tell you, Chris, for a while, it frustrated me until I realized, oh, yeah, there is one thing. The one thing that beats talent, it beats luck, it beats connections, it beats skill sets, it beats virtually anything you can name. And that one thing is persistence. Persistence. The person who gets up every day and keeps applying, keeps trying, keeps doing, and they get up the next day and they do the same thing. There were a whole lot of years with me where, whether it was homeless or in poverty, there was no publication, there was no pay, I wasn't getting published and I wasn't getting paid, but I was writing every day, moving in the direction of, well, one day it's going to happen. Guess it's not today, but maybe tomorrow. Persistence. And that all goes back to mindset, believing it's at least possible, and acting.
So where does I'm looking at your bookshelf as I always do, but secondly, I'm thinking of all the works, 80 plus books you've done, and I know how hard that is because I've done a whopping 4. And I have devoured, as you know, and I said it on stage with you, like I think I've been reading some of the quotes since 2015 every single morning without fail, with very few exceptions. But where does someone start, Joe? If they never met you, I can't imagine that. But let's say they didn't meet you. Where could someone start? They're new to business, or they just they want to dive into this mental space. Is there an easy on-ramp for some of your stuff? I've gone through, out of the 80, probably over half. That's a lot, but where does someone start? Any thoughts?
Yeah, what I have gotten the feedback on is my book, The Attractor Factor, is the gateway. That's the door. That's the whatever the phrase is, that's the one that everybody starts with.
Yeah.
That was the book that got me into the movie The Secret. A lot of people who hear of me or hear of the law of attraction or watch the movie The Secret go to that book, The Attractor Factor. Only recently, in fact, it's with the mental time travel system, I am selling it on a new company service. It's called Digistore 24. It's just a company that supplies and fulfills digital products to customers. The president of it asked me the similar question. So I said, the attractor factor, if you want to get acquainted to what I'm doing and this whole business of where I'm coming from, read that. Well, he works out every day. He bought the audio version. He listened to it. 2 or 3 days later, he writes me the most moving, heartfelt, transparent email I had gotten from certainly a CEO of a major company. And he was transformed. He was suddenly going in a whole new direction mentally, and then applying everything he was learning, which was going to make his life easier, to his business and his life and his lifestyle. And that whole thing led to other opportunities for he and I to work together, bringing the attractor factor to the Latino market, which is starving for mindset-oriented, positive thinking-oriented, secret-oriented material. So I would say the book to really jump in with is The Attractor Factor. It's on audio, Kindle, paper, hardcover, Amazon has it. It's all over.
I echo huge. Yep, I love it. All right, that was easy. I got a question for you regarding all the quotes behind you. What you must switch them around a bit. I'm reading them as I'm asking you this, but what one strikes you right now in your state of this year, and why? There's a bunch of cool quotes behind.
What quote strikes me?
Yeah, like you got them up there for a reason, right? So
Yes,
talk about that.
Well, I love quotes. I love quotes because those one-liners can carry you through life. I mean, if you're looking at good quotes every day, they're going to give you a shot in the arm. That's your mental adrenaline right there.
Mm.
And of course, be happy is the big one behind me because most people aren't. And I'm reminding people you have a choice. You can be happy or not, you know? I remember there was a announcer for old football games. He said, his name was Hank Williams Jr., and he would say, if you're not happy, you're missing a great opportunity. And the idea was, right now, folks, right now, you're missing right now.
Yep.
And then we can go back 200 centuries to Seneca, who I've been studying over the last couple of years to help get through some dark times as well as the pandemic. And he had this great quote. I'm just marveling at it. He says, you have the choice. You can make things seem easy, hard, or even amusing. It's up to you. When I first read that, I thought, holy shit, easy, hard, or even amusing. And I have the choice. Most of us go with the default, like it's hard. We kind of think that way. And that goes back to the mental programming. As we were growing up, we heard life was hard. So we kind of concluded life is hard. Then we conclude we're in business, life is hard. It's not necessarily true. Seneca is saying, well, you can make it seem easy. And I love the way that he said the word seem. He didn't say it is easy or it is hard or it is amusing. He said you can make it seem easy. And as soon as you have that in your mind, again, mindset, as a choice, now you can look at whatever you were wrestling with before, the deal, the customer, whatever, and you can start to look at it as, well, this is actually easy. There's bound to be a way through this. Chris knows how to get through it, or Chris has done it before, so I can do it. Or you can look at it as hard. And then the biggie, and this one I couldn't get at first because he said you can also make it look amusing. And I'm like, how can you make a pandemic look amusing? How can you make war in Russia and Ukraine and everybody fighting? How can you make this look amusing? And then I saw Jerry Seinfeld. And Jerry Seinfeld said, he only lives for the joke. There's no other reason in his world experience to be talking. If you're not saying or going in the direction of a joke, you better shut up because he's not listening. And he interviewed another comedian who confessed, and he said, you know, when there's a tragedy in the world, we comedians have the jokes that night, but we don't say them yet because the world will consider it too soon.
Not ready. Yeah.
They're not ready. But it made me think, okay, the humor as a possibility is there.
Yeah.
So this is another one of my quotes. I actually printed it on my little index cards, my note cards, as a reminder. You have the choice. You can make it seem easy or hard or even amusing. That's another one of my favorites.
I love it. And I hope, I'm going to make a comment here. I hope the Wicked Smart listeners picked up that almost all through this interview, you referenced things you're studying to this day. Like you've written 80 books, right. You're studying nonstop. And I hope they picked up on that because I know you do that all the time.
I do. I am constantly, I'm hungry, I'm starving, I'm curious. I am reading new books every day. I mean, I must be Amazon's favorite person because they're here at the house every day with new books. And the cool thing, and this is what you're doing, but I've started doing it, is with my TV show or my online TV show, Zero Limits Living. I pick the authors that were most influencing to me and interesting to me, and I invite them on the show. And then what do? I pick their brains dry
100%
for me. And every time I interview these people, I'm thinking, oh, I read their book. I know what they're talking about. And I'm always surprised. And I'm surprised because, like everybody else, we don't know what we don't know. We have to keep learning. We have to keep growing. We have to keep absorbing. And as Bob Proctor and Zig Ziglar and many of the other greats said, there's no finish line.
Right.
You don't read Think and Grow Rich and stop. You read Think and Grow Rich, and then you go and read The Attractor Factor, and you don't read that and stop. You read The Attractor Factor, and then you go to The Magic of Believing, or Jack Canfield's materials, or Deepak Chopra, or whatever you're led to look at.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. You mentioned, I'm going to make this my wrap up. You mentioned sort of like people can make it easy, like, hey, Chris did it or Joe did it. How
Yeah.
important, what came to mind there is how important would you say just association in general is? Like you talked about the immersing
Uh,
yourself in quotes and books, but
yeah.
how about
Yeah.
association? How important is that?
That's yeah, I love these questions from you, Chris. God, these are so good. The association is a breakthrough. The people you associate around are going to hold you back, hold you down, or elevate you. And even Epictetus, one of the earliest Stoics, talked about the people you are hanging around are the ones who are going to influence you the most. He had said that you want to be around people who uplift you. The rule of thumb that comes from Napoleon Hill, because he invented the term as we know it today, mastermind, a mastermind being 6 or more people, all in alignment. And that mastermind, when they get together, not only helps each other, it elevates each other and gives each other resources and recommendations and pooled knowledge. But there's something mystical that takes place. And Napoleon Hill said, when you have when you have a mastermind, you actually create a third mind. This third mind is like an esoteric collection of the group itself, and you can tap into higher consciousness and wealth consciousness. The other thing I want to say about this, in case people are thinking I'm too metaphysical here, too mystical, is I saw an interview with Morgan Freeman. And Morgan Freeman, the actor, and he had said that a lot of people complain that they can't change their lives because of their environment, their circumstances, their family, their friends, where they're living. And I never forgot where he said, the bus leaves every town, every day. The bus leaves every day. If you don't like your situation or the people that you are around, get on the bus and go somewhere else. For you and I and the people that are listening here, we have to be aware that the association we have is going to unconsciously influence us. It's going to influence us on a subconscious level. So we want to be around people, hopefully, that are doing better than us. So they will bring us up. In fact, there's a program called Circles, which a fellow had created as a way to end poverty in the United States. And what Circles is a group of people who have been either are homeless or in poverty and they're struggling. But the difference is one member of the upscale community, somebody who is affluent, somebody who's living a more luxurious, secure lifestyle, is part of that group. Why? To elevate the other people in the group.
Yeah.
Your association can make or break you. And my rule of thumb is pay real close attention to what you're feeding your mind, whether it's what you're reading, what you're listening to, what you're watching, but what you are or who you are hanging around. Choose your friends wisely, join the groups, join a mastermind, join whatever Chris is putting together so that you can be around people that are thinking positive, doing positive, and going up the ladder, not being stuck on it or trying to pull it down.
Yeah, I need it. You need it. We all need. That's why I asked that.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Joe, as always, I think if I look at my clock, I could speak with you for another hour and a half or 2 hours.
Right. It's real easy to do.
I've
I
enjoyed
love my
everything we've
time.
done together, from dinner to the events to everything. I hope we can do a lot more of it. Yes, I'd love to be on your show, and I can't wait to spread the good word. So, thank you so much again. It was an awesome chat as always.
I love that. Godspeed to you and everybody listening and watching.
Thanks, buddy.